of the agency, and I would like it if someone from that agency specifies that they are there and who's there from a respective agency. So I'll do it as my list has it. So firstly, we have the Hub Roman Catholic Church. Is anyone from there today?
Thank you, everyone. This is Cheryl Fitzpatrick Payne. I'm here.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. Up next, we have the Rotary Club of Barbados.
Yes, David Edwards here. Morning to all.
Okay, great. Up next, Lions Clubs International. Lions Club International. Anyone? No? Can we move on to Leo Club International?
Good morning.
Hi, morning. Great. From Leo's Club. Are you Olivia? Yeah.
Selena.
Oh, sorry, Celia. Great. Up next, Barbados Council of Disabled.
Good morning. Good morning, Kevin. This is Rhonda.
Hi, Rhonda. Hi, didn't see you there. Yes.
Yes, I see the participant for the Council for the Disabled is on. Remember, she's hearing impaired,
All right.
but
Yes.
she's there. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Up next, the Anglican Church. Okay, next we have the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Good morning.
Morning.
Tabitha, Judy Bourne and Tabitha are here.
Okay, fantastic. And we have the Barbados Association of Non-Governmental Organizations.
Ann Harding here. Marsha Brandon, are you there?
Hi, Anne. Okay, great. Let me just take a record of that. Up next, Barbados Red Cross Society.
Good morning. David Griffith is here along with Ruth Hunt. Leslie is running a bit late.
Okay, noted. We have DEM.
Present.
Okay, great. Up next on my list is Salvation Army.
Joan Ferguson here, the Salvation Army. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Barbados Defense Force.
Good morning. You have Edward McCollin and you have Michelle Thompson, which you see as G4QM. The others will join us in between, but they're preparing for the parade. So
Yes.
they'll join us in between.
Okay. Thanks for joining. I know that you guys are extremely busy and occupied with tomorrow's celebration. So thanks for joining us. Okay, Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs.
Hi, good morning. This is Ms. Cumberbatch. We have Mark Beholder and Chanel Ali. All three of us are here.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you. Ministry of Education.
Hi, good morning.
Mhm.
Hi, I'm Karen Marvel Grant from the Ministry of Education.
Okay, thank you for joining us.
Okay.
And we have the Ministry of Labor and Social Partnerships Relations.
We're here, Kevin.
Okay, great.
Siobhan is on as well.
Good. And the Kiwanis Clubs of Barbados.
No, we don't have anyone from Kiwanis.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. Okay, so let's get started then. I hope everyone had a restful weekend and everyone's prepped and ready for Independence tomorrow. But before that, let's start with day 3 of the CLS training. Last week we did quite a good amount of work. Friday's session was quite good. On Friday, we looked at registration capabilities, and we looked at the very important function of uploading stock. And we had a very good discussion on how things are and how things should be in Barbados with respect to uploads. We did a practical demo of the uploads, and we saw how reports can be generated. We saw the value of reports and what sort of reporting parameters the system offered. So Friday's session was indeed a very fruitful one. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at service request forms, SRFs, stock holdings, active tracking, and the library. Now, these are critical elements, and they are essentially the final bits of the essential service, or essential sessions module of the CLS training. As we spoke last week, today will be day 3. So day 4 will be on Wednesday, where we do a practical session. And we'll start with the extended sessions on Friday. The timeline / agenda for the extended sessions will be sent during the course of this week. It's to be started on Friday, commenced on Friday, the same times, pretty much the same format. So we will do 4 sessions next week, this Friday, next week, Monday, next week, Wednesday, next week, Friday. So we aim to complete everything by next week, Friday, which is the 10th. Let me just confirm. Yes, the 10th of December, which will be next week, Friday, when we will conclude this block of trainings. So, right, so we're dealing with service request forms. These are extremely important. And this, next to uploading stock, are 2 critical functions of the software. Because after you upload your stock, we need to right now move or find a location or actively do something with that stock, because it is the emergency logistics module, and we can't just have the stock there in an emergency setting. If something happens, we will need to dispatch stock. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how we can actually request stock to leave the facility. Okay. So what I have on the screen is a very simplified flow or process illustration that showcases the holistic emergency logistics module, which is the one we're working on, and the one which we are actually the training is based on. So as you know by now, it is a simplified tool to enable processing and managing stock distributions between registered warehouses. And it essentially is a timeline that showcases key stages or phases along the continuum. So last week we learned the value of uploading and adjusting stock to the system. And today we're going to learn how to make service requests, because as I stated, once stock is there and once it's an emergency setting or scenario, we will need to get stock out of the warehouse. And getting stock out of the warehouse is critical, but getting it out in a format or a way that is traceable is important, because you want to have accountability and you want to know exactly what processes you're executing, and you want to be able to see it at a very simplistic standpoint. So it's important to know why we're doing it and how to do it, and where it lies in terms of the entire process. And it's critical that in Barbados's national plans that you integrate these different elements into the plan, because once you're impacted by a disaster, you really should follow this continuum. And if you would realize that a lot of times where countries or agencies mismanage disasters, especially the field which we are in, post-disaster logistics, a lot of the times mismanagement has to do with inefficiencies in these key points. And the system would serve to sort of bolster and tighten up any inefficiencies, as well as having country-specific plans and agency-specific plans would help with bolstering and fortifying these different phases along the continuum. So if we can get this service request function right, if we understand it, then it will make the process and actually the communication much easier, because when you are impacted, you want to have that clear line of communication. And sometimes what better communication to have is if you send a document or you have something documented that you made a request. I mean, really, it should be long gone the days of where you would pick up the phone and said, okay, bring me 3 generators or bring me 7 jerry cans. No, things are progress from that, and we should be moving away from that. It should be documented better. And this allows for that, because if you have a warehouse manager and it's a post-disaster setting and he's getting calls from his superiors, he's getting calls from everyone, and you call him for hygiene kits or jerry cans or whatnot, he has a lot on his plate. He wants something where he can easily reference in his peacetime to say, okay, you requested this, I'm going to action this. So it's much better to have it like that instead of calls or instead of an email or a WhatsApp or a call into the EM to get something, because often not, the EM will also be inundated and they will also be doing with numerous tasks, whether it be facilitating coordination for debris management or whatnot. So sometimes calls are missed, even if you record them on a form. So if you can digitize this process, it makes everything so much easier when it comes to finally getting stuff out of the warehouse, and accountability and knowing who makes these requests. So this function helps with that. And once you have this function, once we were able to make service requests, then consignments can be created. Hold on one sec. Yeah. Once we're able to make service requests, then consignments can be created, packages can be created, with labels, tracked, and sent to shelters or beneficiaries. So we see that once someone can make a request, then it can be approved by operators or admins. It may be in DEM. And once it's approved, then you kickstart this chain. So before anything is approved, you must make that request. So that's where the service request function comes in. I'll do a practical demo, but I'm going to go on to another slide. Right. So when you do the service request process, it is pretty much the first step in the emergency logistics module. And remember, our stock is already in our facility. So two prerequisites to have or to execute that service request process is, one, you must have a service requester, and that service requester must be registered onto the system and have permission to mobilize their agency's stocks in a registered warehouse. And each organization must notify the warehouse manager or stock manager which of its users are approved to make service requests. And remember our table from last week, Wednesday, where you can see who can make these service requests. So having that requester is key, and delegating that requester is key. So this is fundamental, and to kickstart the entire process is having the service requester. And two is to have the approver, as only users that are assigned the operator function or operator permission or the admin permission can review, request changes or extra information and validate requests. So if you're an operator and admin, you can review the request, you can validate the service requests, or you can request that the requester make changes or insert more information. Because if things are lacking, if key nodes or bits of information isn't there, then that approver can seek to get more information from the requester, to add more validity, and to help him approve. Because as an approver, you don't want to be just approving any and everything, because when it comes down to it, for accountability in the long run, and they ask the question, hey, why did X approve this? He or she wants to state, because it was well done, it was feasible, it made sense, it was applicable to the situation. Because it may not be, if you're in an NAOC setting, if you're in DM, especially for DM, if you're coordinating a hazard response and you're in the EOC managing logistics and you're using the system and you see a request for 5 lighting towers from someone in Whole Town, but you know that, wait, there's someone in a part of Whole Town, an NGO or a government agency, who has 5 lighting towers. You can state, okay, I'm not gonna ship my 5 lighting towers from Warrens. It will be much easier logistically, transport-wise, much quicker and more agile if you utilize those lighting towers from that other agency in Whole Town. So you can communicate with the requester stating that, hey, this is available there. It's better you get it from there. And that's better because as DEM, you can save your lighting towers for the rest of Barbados. So things like that is what is facilitated and allowed when it's structured like this, and when it's well laid out like this. So that helps with emergency response and coordination, especially from the coordinating agency or agencies like Red Cross, Salvation Army, who have a vested interest and who will be more often than not filling out these service request forms. So what I'm gonna do now, I am going to open up the CLS platform. I hope that many of you throughout the weekend, I know it was a busy weekend prepping for independence, but I hope that all of you guys were able to go into the system and just play around and see at a first-hand view what's available and what's out there. So using our tab, okay, I see a hand. Anne, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. They say there's no such thing as a dumb question, so I exercise that right frequently. But my question is, would not the person or the at the access level that they would have, that the person who's doing the service request would not be able to have access to looking at where items are so that they don't leave it to the next level up to go and do that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So want the person making the service request to be able to check for themselves where items are available to use the most effective and efficient supply?
Yeah. So essentially, if you can make that service request, that permission, then you are able to make that request, and you do make that request. So again, so you would set the permissions for the exact person who can make that request. So those permissions will be laid out beforehand. And if that requester wants something, then he or she will be able to see stock or make a request for an item. Let's say it's in a satellite warehouse, and he knows that he can get an access from the main warehouse, and he will make that request. So what I could do, I'll pull up the permissions tab table once again, and we'll be able to see that relationship.
And maybe I'm asking my question a bit early because it's a service request. I'm not sure whether it's a first step to say this is what we need, and then a second step to say where it's coming from. You know, I don't know whether to state a need is one thing, and then to request it or assign the supply to that need as a separate step. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull up my screen. Yeah. So we see from the presentation last week Wednesday that because of creating the SRFs, even users can create the SRFs and make requests. So everyone can create SRFs. But I think once I go through the process, everyone will see how it is with respect to making the service requests. So I'll do that right now. So as you see, this button over here is this create service request function. And once I click it, this comes up. So this is the new SRF form. And essentially what it does, you populate the fields with respect to items you want to ship from and to. So I'm gonna start to populate this form. Because remember, this form, I need to submit this form. And I need to state as much information as I can to the agency to submit this form so they can approve it. So I can get my consignment and I can get my items. So for instance, if I'm going to ship from somewhere, I browse and see what or where. So I'm going to keep it to Barbados. I'm in Barbados, and I would like to request something from the CDEMA warehouse, and I want to send it, sorry, from the logistics hub, and I want to send it to the CDEMA warehouse. So I choose, because the facilities will be on the system. So what I will do, I will just choose from and to, as I did here, click OK. So it's here. And in terms of organization, this would have to be filled out alongside this. So organization will have to be CDEMA, because CDEMA is the only person who can manage this warehouse. So once you select the agency and the from, then this select stock function will be available. Because we have permissions, and agencies may only reveal certain stock to certain people. And that's one thing that I don't think we touched on, but I will speak about it right now, actually, in that we know that you have sensitivities throughout agencies, and you may have items that you would not want to everyone or certain people to know you have, or certain items may be reserved, or certain items may actually be using. So you can, in essence, compartmentalize and demarcate what stock you want to showcase or have visible. So for instance, if I have my standby generator on a system and I don't want that to go, then it's not going to be available for transfer. It's reserved. And if I know that, oh, this is a good example. So for DEM has stocks for sub-region, for the sub-region. And sometimes DEM may keep stocks for other countries or other agencies within the sub-region for deployment. And if stock is earmarked for a specific country or a specific function, then you won't be able to access that stock. And DEM could set those barriers or those permissions to prevent access to that. So that's why essentially, and the value. So okay, I'm seeing requests to make it full screen. It is full screen for me. Can everyone see my screen properly? Is it full enough?
I'm seeing your screen as full screen, but I'm seeing a lot of other things on your screen other than the CLS. So I don't know if you can make the CLS window full screen or not. I don't know. So.
I can zoom in, but to make it fuller, apart from zooming in, no, because I guess I'm sharing my full screen, so you would see my icons and my tabs. So the only thing I can do is to zoom in, but to get it bigger.
Or
really.
Kevin, you could maybe pull it out as a separate tab and hide the other tabs. So it's a tab on its own, and then go into the magnification on the web.
Okay.
There it is. I was thinking it was a single click operation.
No, it's because it was the web page and he was sharing his monitor, I guess, or screen from the, yeah. And then from that, you can increase the size of the web page by clicking plus or minus.
Yeah. So, right. So this should be better.
Yes, Kevin, that's a lot better, thanks.
Okay, fantastic then. Right. So again, I've selected from, which is the regional logistics hub, which is any airport, and it's going to CDEMA in St. Michael, Lower Estate. And I will need to indicate my contact. Most people know my email, so I'm going to put it in. And I'm also going to put my phone number. And also, this is making a request for transporting goods. And you can either do for transport to a specific locality or do transport for storage. Because we know that certain agencies may have more storage options than other agencies or more storage facilities. So you can just request items to go to a specific area or a specific locality for distribution, or you can simply just send an item from, for instance, if DEM is their warehouse is overstocked and you need space in DEM, and you have a good satellite warehouse network in Barbados, and you have satellite warehouses in, let's say, Bathsheba or Hastings, then DEM can send items from Warrens to Hastings or to Bathsheba to a satellite warehouse, and that will ease some of the storage constraints that you may have at DEM. And that simple process, you can do the request and you can send those goods there for storage. So that's a function as well. And you will see on your right here, you have the storage request tabs and fields to go from and to the date and etc. So that's a function as well. So I'm going to complete my form here. I'm going to go from the RLH hub in Southern District, which is Grantley Adams, to St. Michael. So I have CDEMA here, and well, because CDEMA also, well, we are based in St. Michael, I will put them as the organization here, and the contact being myself here, and just a phone number. So this is beneficial because if, let's say, Red Cross were to have a relationship with maybe another NGO or Lions or whatnot, it can be from Red Cross to Lions, or from Salvation Army to DEM, or DEM to Red Cross. So we can see and can build relationships between the agencies in Barbados, and you can see how communication can happen without needing to go through a phone, and it shows it's been well documented. So, right. And even if, because honestly, guys, in some scenarios, you may have that organizations may not have a presence in the end location, the actual location. So you may need to delegate people who would actually receive the item in person. So because of that, sometimes the contact person may not be the person who may actually be on the ground. So you can state or give different contact information for someone who may be on the ground. And that is the reality that you will have that, because sometimes if you're in a disaster response setting, you may not, that person may be unable to make it out because they may be injured. They may have to deal with their family. So you may have to have volunteers or people coming in. So that's the reality on the ground. Okay, so going to the right side here, we see where we have special requests, and items can be cold chain or not. So let's say items you're transporting are test kits. We know it at you for COVID-19. Sometimes test kits may need to be refrigerated. Or if we're going extremely critical here and we're transporting COVID-19 vaccines, we know that it needs to be cold chain, because the vaccines which we took needs to be cold to preserve its integrity. So if we're doing that, you state specifically if it's required or not, and you can state the required temperature range. If I'm not mistaken, I think the AstraZeneca vaccine was between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius. So for something as critical as that, you really want to have that on paper. So the person on the next end reading it can know and can decide, hey, do I have a facility that has cold chain? If not, I will need to probably find a facility and make arrangements. It can also help with respect to planning. And planning, for instance, if you do want to transport vaccines, was one thing having a storage place, the storage location with the cold chain to receive it, but it's a completely different thing to have the proper truck to transport these vaccines. So it will help you within the EOC, or if you're functioning as part of an agency who has access to refrigerated transport or trucks, because then you can make the decision, hey, do I have one of those trucks? If not, can I borrow one? Do I need to purchase one? Can I rent one? Or I should really have some MOUs with companies who have refrigerated trucks. So if I'm a DM or a different agency, I can have MOUs with, I know maybe like Trimato, Masio, Postulas, or anyone transporting poultry, etc. They usually have refrigerated trucks. So if I have an MOU with them, I can do that. So it shows you in terms of decision-making process, how critical it is to know what is coming and to better judge and to better plan for what is coming. So, and that doesn't even have to work with just cold chain. It can work with heavy machinery, or because post-disaster, you would require something like bulldozers, require tractors. And if you can state exactly, we'll come to that, but the description, everything, if it's a bulldozer, you may need something, a flatbed or a low boy or a different sort of truck with different capacities to actually transport that heavy machinery. So these different things, it's good to state and to have on paper, so it can help with that and help plan the routes. So yeah, so this special request for cold chain is critical because they can do that. It's important to state the dispatch date, because let's say I want to do this operation tomorrow. I will click the 30th. But before that, I need to select my stock. How could I forget? So once you enter this information here, you select the stock. So once you click that button, you select what you actually want to be transported. So I'm going to say we want to transport one LPG bottle, like a petroleum gas bottle, from the hub in Grantley Adams to our headquarters in Warrens. So I selected that one. Let me zoom out a bit. That one bottle, and you would see that you have other options. You select that one bottle, where is it? Right here, and you check this tick right here. You select the one here, because I can see that, hey, there's 6, so I'm just going to get one. And you select the shipping unit, whatever shipping unit you need, and the ship quantity, and you can, once it's entered properly, you see the volume and the unit price, etc. So other times you will need to enter the price. So let's say it's, I don't know, 10 Barbados for one of those. So you click that and you click OK. So you see here in the table here, we have the item, the unit type, what it is, quantity, well, I would have, if the info was entered correctly, you would have seen in the first place, you'd have seen the weight and the volume of one or one of those bottles, one of those gas tanks. So the weight and the size would be there, as well as the cost. So once you select the stock, it's there, and you select if it's cold chain or not. We went through this. We selected the date tomorrow. Mode of delivery, most of the times it would be via road. Barbados doesn't have any other islands, well, at least that I know of. So if you're a multi-island state like Antigua, Bahamas, St. Vincent, TNT, then you will choose maybe air or sea, and things will be a bit more detailed, but pretty much we use road here. So we go with road. And also you choose the date. If it's storage, if it's just storage, then you choose a date to and a date from and a date to. If it's not, then you don't enter that. So you have the stock here. You can put comments if you want, meaning, let's say, the blue bottles for cooking. So on the other end, the person who's approving can see, yes, it's good that we're using it for cooking because we have a staff function next week and we need that gas bottle to cook with. So that can help you be more familiar with and to actually understand why this person is requesting this. So these tabs are especially if you are doing it for movement or international movement. So for instance, like for DEM, if you have someone in St. Lucia, because we know that the sub-regional focal point is Barbados and other states within this sub-region, there are St. Vincent, Dominica, and St. Lucia. So if St. Lucia is impacted and DEM needs to send items from their stocks to St. Lucia as part of the response, they can fill out everything that we just filled out to a T. You can put the St. Lucia office. I think that's Nemo St. Lucia. But this is critical because you'll put the carrier or the agent. If you're using, let's say, Caribbean Airlines, you put that in. If they have an MOU with Caribbean Airlines, you can put that in. Or if you're using RSS or helicopter or by sea, if you're using a freight forwarder or King Ocean or these different ocean liners, you put information there. Or customs brokers, often customs brokers, they can really be a good cog as they can simplify all of these processes. So you can enter the customs broker information. And if you know who's going to be receiving it on the other end, you put that information here. So this function is only if you're doing that international movement, which I know that many DEM will be responsible for. So, right. So the requested detail, I'll put my name, my title, my job title, etc. there. And what's also good is that you can upload documents. If it's like an international transfer and you need to have customs documents or you need to have specific forms to help with the customs process or delivery notes or way bills or showing proof of documentation, you can upload documents, you can upload PDFs, JPEGs, or whatever you want to include as part of that package that you're going to send to the NUC or to the next end, so they can see at a vantage point, hey, this person has this support and documentation. So I feel more comfortable if I'm approving something with support and documents. Plain and that's as simple as we want it, because sometimes you don't want to approve something that you don't see any trace or you don't see any background information. But if you can provide that background information, then better for me. I'm making a very concerted decision having detailed information. So you can easily just click and it shows you your files to upload documents. So my service request form, fill it out, etc. I'm going to submit it. So this giant blue button here is to submit that form. Oh, it told me I need to fill in all the fields in red. What did I miss out? I messed up my contact. That would be me. So even if you make errors, then the system will highlight it for you to finish it. Much like if you were to fill in a form online or pay a bill online or do anything like that, you get that prompt saying, this is wrong, or this is needs to be done. Please do it before it's completed. That's a good part of the system. So I click submit. So my service request form is submitted. So what we will be doing on Wednesday is where we'll be delving into the bit of the process of approval. But just as a reference, you may be thinking, where does our service request form go? And I'm just going to state where it goes. So we're back in on our front page here. And once I go into emergency logistics, and once it loads, there it is. So you see each service request form has a number, which is fantastic for tracking and traceability. So we see where you have me being the requester, and at this lens, I'm now functioning as an operator, and I can approve, I can leave it pending, I can see the full form, see everything. Let me go back. Yeah, so once I click that little thing, that icon there, you see the SRF number, you see it in great detail, value, everything. So I can see the additional data on the form. So, but this process, we will go into more detail in other sessions. So coming back to the presentation, it's also good to note that it allows for controlled entry of data, as you would see. Let me just pull it back up once again. Yeah, so it allowed for controlled entry of data. Selecting the source location determines which organizations have stock inside, which determines the authorized users. It shows that adding items can only be done after the source agency is selected. So that shows you that that function of seeing that stock here, that nice blue button, is not there if I were to only select that. I need to select the organization. And only when I do that, then this button comes up. So that shows you that I'm not going to be able to see what the system doesn't want me to see. So it shows that the button will only appear when I do specifics, and if I have those permissions, I can see those specifics. So it shows that in detail. And you can't forget this nice handy dandy help function, which you can click on to give you details on the service request and how to fill it in, and whatever issues you may have, this would deem to address it. And it's right there at the click of a button. Right. So before I go on to the other items for today's session, any questions from the floor? I'm looking at the chat.
Hi, Kevin. Yes, I sent in a question about if items are being donated, from where do we obtain the estimated value? Because I can imagine that at the time, with the disaster, cartons and boxes and things are coming in, I can see somebody stopping to enter information in terms of estimated value. Be very honest.
Yeah. So that question is a question is asked throughout the board, and it's a question as asked at every level from the person working in the facility to higher ups, because having that information on the cost is critical, especially if you're transporting items or bringing in items or donating items or transporting items to other countries, because it's a big part of shipping documentation to have that cost list. So if you were to ship something internationally, it's
Yeah.
a standard something. So
So
having that,
maybe we can pull it from a document that's coming in, not that we have to sit and estimate it when we receive it, if you see what I mean.
yeah. So for items that you do have detailed information on, you get that, you do backtrack and you get that cost. For
Yeah.
items that you are unsure of, because honestly, guys, after disaster, numerous items just come into the country. Sometimes you try your best to avoid these items. Some may be just unsolicited, but they come in. But it's critical to state an estimated value, because this will really help you in the long run.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess you do the best you can. You do your best estimate, I suppose.
Yep. And also that's why Google is there for some estimates, and or local prices could
Yeah.
guide you.
Yeah, we've done that in the past at the hub, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Trends.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
And with the comment function, you can also put, if you want, and you can put that it's a donation. So you can put something like in kind donation, and you can put estimated value, and you can put that the cost estimated value obtained from local retail stores in Barbados. Oh, yeah, because like your cost, let's say a price mart or whatnot, you can gauge trends in terms of how items are costed and these things. So you can just put those in the comments so the person on the other end can see, in essence, where your logic came from. So it allows for that sharing of information, because honestly, after disaster, it's going to be chaos, going to be crazy. You're going to want to have it there and stated, and you want to be as concise as possible, but as flexible as possible. So that allows you to do that. This comment section. I saw a hand from Anne. Anne, your hand is raised. What's yours?
Oh, sorry, it was just from before. But I do have a point. I'd like to make a question. The value and the weight and the things like that, wouldn't that be part of the data that was uploaded in like what we did last Friday? The data that's uploaded had columns, I think, for value and weight and size and things like that. So wouldn't that data already be there when you select that item out of the stock?
Yep.
And hop on this form instead of you having to now know all that yourself again?
Yep, that's right. So in essence, what I will do, I'll just replicate the transfer did. So from Bradley Adams to St. Michael, CDEMA, oops, not them, CDEMA, me. select stock. It's all right. So here, this item, let me zoom in. This item I entered, and I was very diligent with this entry. Again, this is just stock and dummy data. I can move about and it's be okay. But I entered this, a bale of barley, and I stated the weight and the volume. Okay, I'm going to mute you, Cheryl, because I think I'm getting some feedback and you're not asking a question. So can you, yeah, fantastic. So, right. So this bale of barley here, I put the weight and I put the unit volume and the unit price. So, right. So here we see that that's why it's critical that when you upload your stock, you upload the weights and you upload it to as much as you can, even if it's you may not exactly know the exact weight you can put it, because sometimes if it's hectic, if it's crazy, you may not have scales. Sometimes some goods aren't well labeled, so you may not know the exact weights, but you can put it in. It's better than putting it in, as what Anne rightly pointed out. It's better that putting something in than leaving it blank, because on the other side, you're like, I have no idea how much this thing weighs or how big it is or how much it's going to take up. So it's much better to do that estimate if you don't have the value and still put it in, because we saw just now when I tried to upload those gas tanks, I didn't have a weight or volume. If I'm on the other end and I'm seeing these gas tanks, how am I supposed to know that it's the short ones or the tall ones? Because you have the short ones that you put under your stove and under your stove, like next to your stove, and the tall ones that you may keep outside. So how am I supposed to organize transport if I don't know that? So very good that you see how good it is, how important it is to put this information, because or else the one on the other end just wouldn't know to make arrangements. So that is critical. So very good spot, and thanks for that. Right. I'm looking in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand or chime in with any questions. But in the chat, I see Anne stated that if it's the responsibility of the person uploading the stock to ensure data is good quality as can be. Yes, it's the responsibility of the person uploading the stock to do that. Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, that's a very key, a normal term. That's why you want to have people who are trusted and who are diligent in the upload process and who care about relief management in your country. Sometimes people in it just for the glory or just for saying that, oh yeah, they can distribute or they did donate this. But I think if you're a proper relief manager or a proper advocate for disaster relief, you care enough to put it and to state it in detail. So that is critical that you do that, because you know the chain and you know how your actions would help someone on the other end fulfill their action very or much easier. So yeah. Okay. I see where Jeff is answering some questions in the chat. Thank you, Jeff. So any other questions from participants on this very important function? And I hope that people on the call see how good it is that you can have such granularity and flexibility, because you can see that it will really help the agencies in that inter-agency coordination, seeing what's there and being able to at the click of a button, see forms, especially as in a very, very controlled manner. Because on the other side, if you're working post-disaster, it is so hectic. Honestly, it is so hectic that so many things come at you, so many calls, WhatsApp, text messages. Sometimes you're not by your computer, you're pulled into a different meeting everywhere, which you're pulled so many different ways after disaster that it's easy to forget things. I'm sure people who have been deployed or BDF guys, they see how much work goes into disaster response and operations, and you're pulled, you're sometimes in meetings different days, you have to attend this, you have to do this. So if you're relying on something like a call or a text to receive information on what to do, it may get muddled, it may get misconstrued. So having it documented in a controlled way where you can see, or having a repository where you can see it, it's good, especially if you're working in an EOC where you dedicate, let's say you dedicate to checking requests on the hour every hour. So at 11 o'clock will be my next time where I check requests. So you check it at that and have that battle rhythm. Then you can approve things every hour to have your day a bit more structured. So it allows for something like that. Right. And I see Anne in the chat speaking about whoever's filling in service requests will need to have knowledge of the transport. She's imagining how they would know what is needed where, phone calls, emails, notes. So knowledge of the transport is, if you have it, fantastic. But if you don't, it'll be the person receiving the request to then delegate or to then speak to their transport hub or dispatch people or transportation section of the EOC to find out if you have that transportation. So before you approve, before the guy on the other end approves, he needs to check his transport guy, ask him, hey, do I have a code? Do I have a refrigerator truck? If my transport guy says no, then I can't approve this because I'm not going to have the means to adequately transport it. So then I can't approve it. I may have to source one, and then I can send a note saying, awaiting, I don't have this, so I can't approve it. But let's say I can have access to a refrigerator truck tomorrow, then I'm going to approve it, and it's going to happen tomorrow. That's when I have the truck. So if you have it, if you know what assets are there, because sometimes if it's from, let's say, BDF to DEM, and how it works in the EOC, you should have a BDF officer in the NEOC in DEM as attached to working very closely with DEM. So if you have if a BDF officer is in DEM and you're asking something of the BDF, that person in DEM, a BDF person in DEM, can best advise whoever's making a request that, hey, yes, we have this trailer truck that can take a 40-foot container. Yes, we have it. I am your point of contact in the EOC. Yes, we have it. Send in the request. No worries. It will be done. That can happen. And that's how it fits into national frameworks and national coordinating mechanisms, because every country has a national office and has that EOC support, and they strive for that. So this just, in essence, plugs in to your EOC. So it'll just plug into DEM to help DEM specifically with relief and logistics. And that's what happened in St. Vincent, because in SVG, the operations manager, he was responsible for approving because he had a overall control tower view of operations in the country, because he was on the ground. From start to finish, he was a guy who dealt with a lot of operational tasks. So he was the best person to put on this duty. So it's important to be able to have persons who can fulfill that function and who knows how to function in your EOC. So, yeah. right? See, Jeff also pointed out, fact out that dispatchers would assess and deploy their assets, especially with availability, because sometimes assets may not be available. They may be down, they may be need a maintenance, they may be wrecked or in need of service or written off. Because with machinery, that happens, assets that happen. So good way to help your planning as well. Okay. Any further questions? Okay, everyone is clear of this critical function. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do now, we'll just go into the active tracking component. Just go full screen. So what the system also allows, it also allows for active tracking. And active tracking is a bit different because with active tracking, you utilize GPS or GPRS trackers to help locate and to help track or trace the location of goods. So many of you may know, hold on, many of you may have access to GPS trackers. Maybe you use it on your vehicles. I know in countries that vehicle theft is a lot more prevalent. Often not motorists will put a tiny GPS tracker in their vehicle, in their bonnets to geolocate where your vehicle is. So for instance, if one person were to buy expensive vehicle and they put a tracker in it because it's a precious car, and if someone steals their car, they wouldn't be able to see where your car is. Because let's say you're hanging out in Warrens and someone steals your car, goes South Coast, you having a tracker in your car can pull up your phone, open your app, and see where your vehicle is, where that the person who stole it is. And often that you can call the police and you can go locate your vehicle using that tracker, that active tracker function. So essentially, that is how it works, but with packaging and with items. So just as how you would have a map on your phone, let's say in Google Maps, you see that location going to and fro. The mapping interface within a system allows you to visualize active tracker position, the track, and the status. So it allows you to see firsthand where a tracker is. And you have API calls to multiple vendors, servers, so you can use different types of trackers. So often that trackers are the size of like your palm or even smaller, and it's attached or bolted on or screwed on or stuck on or fixed on to items. Now, honestly, for this active track function, usually you put these trackers on big ticket items. And when I mean big ticket items, I mean like a light and tower, it could be even a container, because you don't want to be putting trackers on small packages. One, could be a waste of money, especially in a response where money is limited. And two, that's a lot of information to track, and it can be very time consuming. And big part of response is your time management. So you don't want to have to be managing a whole bunch of tasks that may seem laborious. You want to save your energy to do different parts of the response, because responses can last days, weeks, months. So you don't want to burn out yourself. So that's other reasons why you only put active trackers on big ticket items. And also the value. Because if the value of losing a bag of rice compared to the value of losing a lighting tower or a container is a lot different. So if you really want to know where your lighting tower is or where your container is, you put a tracker on it, you see it. And I know that in some countries, national offices may lend assets, they may lend a lighting tower or a generator to a district agency to do work. Let's say as due to a tropical storm, poles are down and guys need to work through the night. You send in a request, you get a lighting tower to help those guys work at night. As the agency setting, you want to know that your lighting tower is indeed where they are said it would be and not in someone's garage at home. So that's a good way to know. And it's a good way to know where your item is. Also, if you need to retrieve it, if it's stolen, because sometimes disasters bring opportunities, and not the good kind. People often take advantage during disasters and they may steal items, they may do wrongdoings. So having a good knowledge of where your item is important so you can track it down to retrieve it. All these things are the reality. When a country is impacted, all sorts go down. So it's good to have that option. So coming back into the system, you will see this active tracking tab here. So here, we will zoom in. And for instance, you will put the status transit or received to a specific location from and the tracker ID. Well, in essence, with respect to tracking, as part of our hub operations last year, we used this last year because, as many of you all will know, we operated an integrated regional logistics hub last year with help from WFP and Barbados Port Inc., a large assemblage of stakeholders, and to get COVID-19 supplies to different countries. And we placed trackers on a container that was destined for Belize. So you see where this is Barbados Port Inc. So last year we placed a tracker, and you will see that it showed the track. And if anyone who knows regional shipping, to get something from Barbados to Belize, which is a CARICOM nation in Central America, way over here, it's not as simple as sending a container from Barbados to St. Lucia, because you have different lines past different areas. So these routes are quite different. So to get to Belize, that container would have traveled from Barbados to TNT, and from TNT right across the Caribbean Sea to Kingstown, Jamaica. And because Jamaica is essentially geographically close to Belize, that container was then transshipped from Kingston, Jamaica to the recipients in Belize City. So that goes to show you that for a big ticket item like a container of COVID supplies, you can put a tracker on it. And trackers vary in price. I mean, roughly the average price of a tracker roughly could be like 40 or 50 US. There are cheaper ones, there are more expensive ones, but that's a rough estimate. and they're small. They can be as big as the palm of your hand, sometimes even smaller. So once you affix it and you enter the details about a tracker and you log it into the system, then it can help with that. So this is a very good tool. And as per usual, you can click more and find out more about it. Right. So we see a bit about tracking. Tracking is following the process of an active transaction to receipt, and tracing is following the route of an inactive transaction. Right. So you can see it breaks down different things with tracking and tracking of packages. So it's a very tidy and indeed a very great function that can happen. And if you do have the means by which to purchase these trackers and to use it and to monitor them, then you do it, because times are changing. We're using more GIS data, geospatial imaging. So being able to do this, you should have that capacity, and the system allows for that. So that's a possibility with that tracking function. Yeah. So active trackers are also available from commercial providers. So you may have, I'm not too sure in Barbados exactly what agency can sell trackers, but I'm sure if you do a search on Google, or you look into tech in Barbados and you ask around, I'm sure you can get trackers. You can purchase trackers here in Barbados on island. I'm sure of that. Just not sure exactly where, but yeah, or you can order them. Yeah. Carl? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So that's an activity and an action that you can do. So what we also need to speak about is the library. So I know that on Friday, I guided you all to the library because that's where I uploaded the first presentation. But the library is a very critical function because the library allows users to have a very common repository for documents, information. And if you're in your spare time, in your free time, you want to read documents, you go to the library. Just as a virtual library, much like I know back in the day you would go to a library to check books in and out, but it's virtual, so you can have access to important documentation that way. So the library is a repository for storing and sharing useful information and resources. And useful information could be your country specific national disaster plan. That should be your guiding document for everything. So you should have your national disaster plan that guides all processes with respect to disaster operations within the country. And having access to this plan allows stakeholders to see what their role is and to see how you're going to manage this disaster. So it's very basic, very rudimentary in terms of seeing, okay, I'm reading my national disaster plan. I know that things are going to happen this way. You're going to have this function. These entities will be requested. Police is going to do this. Fire agencies are going to do that. And they're different roles. So even it transcends just relief or logistics. If you put documents concerning your response, you can see exactly how things are going to work and how your agency lies within that response framework. So it can store items like that. You can store national logistics plans, critical, because you can see how the Red Cross, how Salvation Army, how different ministries function. And you can, in your spare time, pull it up and read and really get it. So instead of that barrage of, oh, send me this email, send me this document, WhatsApp me this document, WhatsApp me this, you just put it up there and you can just be received by everyone. So that's what I'm doing for these sessions. Instead of having to individually email these slides, I just put it up there and you can see it and you can download it at your spare time. And if you lose it, it's always there to retrieve. So you can filter the library by topic or content and make it it's accessible to all registered users. Oops, yeah. So if I were to go to the system, it's the library tab here. I click on it. And here you can filter by content type, a video, or presentations, or we did some trading in Guyana. So this is Guyana information, CLS, or there it is, our day one slides. So you see, you can filter it. And here we have those slides that I uploaded, and I can easily click to download it. And there it is. I click on it, and these are the slides from the session I did on Wednesday. And when I'm finished with this, but today, I'm going to upload the slides from Friday and today. So by the end of play today, the slides for Friday and Monday, which is today's session, will be available in the library. So have a look. So that's essentially the library function. And you say you can upload different documents to the library. So I know I've been speaking for a while, but I would leave the floor open because essentially we spoke about these items. So I will leave the floor open for questions if you want to troubleshoot, because I know most people, if not everyone by now, has access to the system, the demo side, which is here. So everyone can play with what I did, see, figure things out, and very step by step understand what we're building to. So, all right, I will stop talking for a bit, drink some water, and I'll leave the floor open to anyone who wants to either chime in with questions or comments. The floor is open. You're welcome. I see Carl and Jeff uploaded some good information into the chat. There are companies who do with tracking. See some contacts with some people who we can get trackers in Ireland. It's very, very good. I see Carl put it up there. So yeah, they are available online on Ireland, so you can check them out, even if it's for a vehicle or for your office or for whatnot, or for big ticket items that you may have. Check it out. And I see, yeah, other sites that Jeff posted. So floor is open to anyone who wants to add comments or questions. I see Anne has a comment or question. Saying that, is there a directory resource that can help people find people with specific skills and services? I'm thinking that you're all coming along the lines of like a common location where you can find maybe trucking companies or companies that engage in I don't know, debris management, or companies that have cold chain facilities, or is it along those lines, or is that the gist of the question? Yes. Okay. So ideally, it could be up to the national agency, or if you're like a Red Cross, you can upload, like, we call it a, I'm not sure what they call it in Barbados, but in TNT they would say a list of bonded suppliers or bonded contractors. So it will be like a list of contractors or suppliers that a national agency usually called on, and this list is, a lot of times, the individuals on the list or the companies are vetted and they can provide service to the government. So that list of services you can upload, in terms of having that specific linkage to bonded contractors or suppliers. And you can also upload it in the logistics capacities. And remember what I spoke about when was that? Friday, that you can upload logistics capacities for numerous different places. And in essence, when you flesh out the system more and you put more data into the system, you can put, let's say you have a trucking company. I know you have like Ints and a whole bunch of different trucking companies throughout Barbados, but if you have a trucking company and you want to have them, an agency like DEM could put them, let's say they're located in Jackman's, this trucking company. You put them here and you state they have what assets they have available. If they have 4x4s, if they have lowboys, trailer trucks, if they have even like tractors, etc. So that is a logistics capability. So you can put that there and you can put information about that specific agency and what they have to offer. So for the Barbados context, you can put that in. And it's a bit better to do it this way than in the library because it's more visual here. So for instance, this is a provider, the Beckway Express. They would be a ferry service to transport persons from St. Vincent to Beckway, Braidford Island, Beckway. So you can put more information or contact info in terms of Beckway and like state, okay, this ferry goes from Beckway to St. Vincent, 3 o'clock every Friday. So you put that information there and you can put more info on the loading capacity. And I'm going a bit commercial here, but it says that, okay, this ferry can only transport 1,000 people. So you state that. But think of it more relief. If it's a vessel, if it's an aircraft, or if it's trucking company, you can put that, hey, this truck can transport X amount of tons. So if we have 5 4x4 pickups and each can transport a certain amount of tonnage, then at the vantage point, you can see, hey, okay, I'm going to use this specific pickup. I don't need a trailer truck. I'm going to just use a pickup. So you can see that they actually have that, make that request and make that call. And so it like puts everything at your fingertips. So we no longer have to like go to a directory or try to find the website or try to find something on social media for an agency, because we know that sometimes agencies may not put all their detailed information online So if as a national entity, you can seek and be that initiative and take that initiative and be that person to make that decision and to go look for trucking companies in Barbados and put it in the system, because we know that it will help in the long run. Do it, because when things happen, it's there. You can see it instead of having to look to find something or try to call a guy you know with a truck who may be able to put it in the system during peacetime. So I hope that answers your question, Anne. Yes. Right. Any more
Right.
comments? Brenda. Floor. Yep.
Yes. Hi, Kevin. I just had a query from one of the organizations. They're still having a challenge in terms of getting onto the system, right? They're still unable to register or gain access to the system. That's the Optimist Club. So I don't know if you want to just go through how they can basically, let them know how they can access it. I'm not sure what's the issue.
Yeah. Is anyone from the Optimist Club? Because we can.
Yeah. Karen is there. She's on.
Okay. I know that last week Friday, somebody WFP officials, Jeff and Jean-Paul, was trying to troubleshoot something with them. I don't know if they have an update on the Optimist Club and if they be able to be in contact and to help troubleshoot that matter. If not, we can allocate some time right after the training and leave it open so we can do some like a one-on-one troubleshoot for who's having issues or difficulties with registering. Because we did that on Friday with, I think it was Tabitha, for she was having some issues. So most people got on, but if you're having issues, then we can have a right afterwards just to walk through with that person.
Karen, is that fine with you?
We should wrap up very soon. We should wrap up soon so we can have extended time for troubleshooting.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, great. All righty. So any more comments, questions, concerns, issues? I think we're clear. I think everyone's understood what we executed today. And again, feel free to open the service request and populate it and see what you can do, what you can't do. And I think by doing these different processes in a staged manner shows you how critical it is to do and to upload information correctly, because we see how it can have ramifications lower down the line. Okay. All right, I see where the defense force will also like to join troubleshooting. That's fine. I will leave a space at the end to do that. And if we cannot target your issue, then the team at WFP will help you on a one-on-one basis if we can't do it within today's session. So have no fear. All right. So I'll pull back up the outline. So, right. So we're in this last agenda item. Any questions, answers before we wrap up and adjourn the meeting? Okay. So I'll leave the floor open once more before I wrap up and conclude to post questions. Okay. I think everyone's had their piece and said everything that they wanted to. So in order to recap today's session, what we looked at today, we've looked at service request forms. We were able to delve into completing a form, what the different fields mean, why we're doing this, how beneficial it can be for the person requesting, for the person receiving, and for overall disaster coordination. And I think that third point there is critical because remember, yes, we are in relief and logistics, but we cannot be close-minded where we only look at relief and logistics. We need to understand it in the bigger picture of a disaster response and how it can be beneficial to our co-workers who may be working in mitigation, who may be working in public communications. Because remember, yes, I'm in logistics, we're in logistics, but it's part of a much bigger disaster preparedness setting. And it can help with that. And it's important to understand that big picture. And I know the critical role Red Cross, DEM, these agencies play in overall disaster management, not just logistics. So it can fit into that. So we looked at that. We looked at active tracking, how it can be used. There were some examples of some agencies where you can get trackers from on island. We saw how valuable it is to have active tracking, but you don't want to have it on everything, like every bag of rice, so every bucket set you transfer. It's better to have it on big ticket items. Because one, time management, and two, cost. And we will come to that in the next phase of later this week when we look at tracking, but using codes that are sticked or labeled onto packages. That's why this is called active tracking. And we're going to move on to more QR code based barcode tracking at the end of the week. So stay tuned for that. But active tracking, we looked at that in detail. The GPS trackers, how they can be used. And remember, you can integrate your cell phone into it as well. There's using that tracking. We looked at the library. We saw how we can upload items, upload critical national plans, national policies. I forgot about policies. How could I forget? So what's critical too is if you can upload donations management policies, upload policies on unsolicited goods, because if you are managing a disaster operation in a country, let's say Barbados, you as a country, you would want to put in your library or in your capabilities, you would want to put your policies on receiving items at your ports there. Because if countries want to send items, they can see a policy so they don't waste your time and effort by sending you goods you don't want once, and you don't want them to waste their money on things. So if they see where you do not accept items or you are only accepting items as part of this response up until December 10th, nothing afterwards, you put that online so you can see, so agencies, donors, partners could see Barbados's restrictions and okay, after then you're going to have to pay more duties or taxes or it's not going to come in. So those key documents you put up there to guide partners, to guide regional donors, because as we saw for St. Vincent, I know Barbados hasn't been impacted to the level of a Dominica or St. Vincent or Bahamas, but you can imagine, and the reality is that you have so many agencies, regional and international, sending items. And it would be good if you can state, okay, we're not accepting any more bottled water. That was one thing that a lot of the times is a big issue after disasters. Country may send out an appeal for water, and countries end up sending tons of bottled water, which is a big problem environmentally, one. And two, it's a lot of manpower to have to store and to move around bottles of water. And you need space to do that. And bottles of water in their packages, they don't stack well because it's essentially soft. So you can't stack them high. I need to find a space. So all these obstacles happen when communication is not well. So if you can state that you're no longer sending bottled water, you can do that. I know it can be done in a much more detailed ERP version of the system, but you can also state that in your library and have it out there. In my opinion, it's better to have something out there than not have it at all and put it out there. So that's what you can do for the library. Right. So with that, just want to state that the next session on Wednesday will be a practical session where WFP will lead in terms of that session with respect to tying in what we learned the past 3 days, including today. I'm really tying it into one. I'm enabling participants to use the system and to troubleshoot and to use it in a real setting, and to understand more from your lens. So that's going to happen on Wednesday. So any final comments before I officially wrap up and give it to troubleshooting registration? Any more comments, questions, queries from the members on the call? I'll leave the floor open. Okay, no one. So that concludes day 3. I look forward to Wednesday's session and Friday's session. And I would send the agenda for the extended sessions, which will start on Friday for everyone. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to invite persons who couldn't register properly to state their issues, and the officers at WFP can assist. And I'd leave the call open for that. And also they can establish contact with WFP, where you can send their personal information or names and emails and even numbers maybe, so to help with troubleshooting on one-on-one issues. So both options are available. So I will step aside now and leave it to my colleagues at WFP to state what they rather, if they rather work through the issues now with the participants or get their info and they can troubleshoot now, or choose a date to troubleshoot later. So I would step aside and let that take place. Okay. And yes, happy Independence Day tomorrow, and great for Barbados and being a republic and all that. So good news. So happy Independence Day, everyone. Be safe. I'll step aside now and leave the call open for troubleshooting. Bye. Okay. I see that Jeff is on the line. In the chat, he stated that he's happy to stay until 11:30 to tie up to help anyone with issues. So Rhonda, I know that's the Optimist Club. They were close to you or something like that. So you can.
Right. I am still seeing Karen McLean on, so she can, I know she's having a challenge. Karen, you can go ahead. So Jeff can assist you with the issue. I don't know, I'm seeing her there, but I don't see. She's not, let me send her a message.
I'm seeing in the chat where the BDF requests the link for the demo version. In the chat, the BDF requested the link for the demo version.
Oh, what you did on Friday?
Yeah, so I sorry, WFP, can you just, there it is. So BDF, I see where Jeff posted the link to the actual site for registration. So it's there in the chat.
Okay, I'm not getting a response from Karen. I will probably have to reach out to them by email also and pass on your emails so they can make contact. Because I'm only seeing Karen on, let's see, I don't see Craig. Mhm.
Hi, good morning. This is Captain Thompson from BDF. When I try to log in on the CDEMA logistics system, the password that I'm using, I'm not getting in. I'm not sure if this is a new password I have to create.
Maybe Jeff can take that one, but I'm saying, yeah. So in the chat, he's saying that you don't need a new password, as the one you registered with should work. So check your caps and everything, and make sure it's on point.
Okay, the training cell more or less registered for us, logged us in. So maybe I'll have to get the password from them and then try to log in again.
Okay. I know that Jamal did these things as part of his deployment in St. Vincent. So he I don't know if how it's organized, but if Jamal Wiggins is in the in your team, then he's a good person to check because he did the entire thing. So I don't know if he's part of your team close to you.
He's part of my team, but he's not close to me. But I will link him with him.
Okay.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Yeah, and as what is in the chat, you can use the forgot password link if all else fails. So that's a last resort. But yeah, as if all else fails.
Okay, thanks. Who can I contact outside of this session to get assistance before Wednesday? I just want to make sure I'm able to register and see how the system works. We weren't able to do that. So just in case Wiggins can't get me through, who else can I contact? Maybe later today or tomorrow.
Yeah. Jeff, can you be of assistance with that? Because I know that in the chat he stated that he doesn't see a G4GM email in the system. So I see that he's looking into it. So Jeff, yeah. Right. So you can email Jeff, and he said he sent his email direct.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Kevin. Good morning. This is Karen Bishop McLean from the Optimist Clubs.
Hi, morning, Karen.
Okay. One of my members would have registered the Optimist Club of Barbados, but I don't think. So now when I go in to do my registration, I put in my email address and I look in the drop-down box to select it, but it's not there. So I haven't been able to register as yet.
Okay. I know a couple of my WFP colleagues who were working on that. Any updates on what Karen may need to do from WFP?
She has gained access, so she's actually on. She can log in. She received confirmation and she can actually log in. Margaret Chapman Farley. So do I go ahead and do the registration from the beginning then and just put in the club name again?
Okay. So that person you just specified, were they able to get onto the system in the first place?
Yes, she has access to the system.
Okay. Well, good. Yeah. Interesting. I'm seeing where my colleague stating that there's no Margaret Chapman registered.
Okay. All right, no problem. I'll do my registration from scratch and then I'll let y'all know Wednesday once I have, if I can or cannot gain access.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Because Kevin, you have to, they can register as a new organization. Because I think someone, I'm not sure if persons felt they had to select from the list of names that were available in some instances.
No, well, our name was not listed at all, but what my colleague did, she went on and she did the registration
as a new
and she
organization.
received confirmation so she can gain access. So I didn't think that y'all wanted me to go and register the Optimist Clubs of Barbados again a second time, but if that's what I need to do, I can do that.
You probably need to confirm with her, Karen, if it's Optimist Club.
She registered it as the Optimist Club. I think she
Barbados.
sent me the name, the Optimist Clubs. Let me just double check the name she sent it as. It's not in the drop down list though. I checked.
Yes.
I checked again this morning it's not there at all.
And I don't recall seeing it when I signed in either. I can't remember.
The Optimist International Caribbean District, Barbados. That's what she registered as. And she has access. She received confirmation, and she's actually gained access to the system, and she was playing around with it on the weekend. So I know she's actually logging on. But I will try to log on, and I will let you know what my my response is on Wednesday. I have to hop off now to join another meeting. So thanks so much.
Okay, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, that's strange.
Yeah, I guess it's good. I guess it's
we
also
probably should.
good that they were able to play around on the weekend on it. So that's
Yeah.
that's good as well.
All right.
Okay, I see on the call we
Okay, she's on too.
the people that are left are mainly WFP staff, yourself,
All right.
Defense Force. I
I
don't
think-
know Miranda Doyle and Sandra. I don't know if they have any other issues.
I had asked Miss Belgrade, Sandra, if she had any issues, but I am saying that the Council for the Disabled, they are registered as well. So if she didn't respond, so I'm assuming that they have no issues.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's a case where persons just stepped away from the from their device.
No, well,
Okay, still here.
yeah, and oh yeah.
Ah, so that might be it. So maybe we can close off
Yeah.
for the day.
Okay. Fruitful session today. Thanks, Rhonda, for being here and organizing and filling the questions and organizing the links and everything.
Well, the organizing, you did all the other work. Filling the questions and so I have to go back and see when I can look at Friday's recording to see what I would have missed.
And thanks, WFP, all you guys for the support behind the scenes.
Yes. Thank you all very much. Because we had, I think on Friday, I had I have to speak to Danielle. Just a query from one of the organizations, but I probably will speak to DEM about it first. You know, sometimes people don't see their place, how they are situated in the whole scheme of things. They're here. So thank you all very much and do enjoy the holiday tomorrow and be safe.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.